I'm Pat McAfee, and I can't wait to go across the pond to listen to Across the Pod, fresh out of Wales. Special stuff. Cheers.
Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, in Team Season Preview 15 out of 32, I was joined by Dolphins fans Sam Moores and Mark Bradley as we look ahead to the team's upcoming season. Sam discusses the off-season.
The one that makes me sad is seeing Jalen Waddle leave.
Mark is impressed by the non-player changes in Miami.
One of the things that kind of impressed me right from the start.
I look at one problem area for the Dolphins this season.
I'm looking here at the defense. This is a pretty average secondary.
And much more as the three of us predict the team's overall record in our win-loss or tie segment. Hope you all enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am as ever your host Andy Davis and we are here for Team Season Preview 15 out of 32 this off season. And as you can see from the title of the episode and also what I'm wearing, the team we're focusing on today is my own team, the Miami Dolphins. And with me, I have got two returning guests. And our first returning guest, he is the host of the Fins Nation UK podcast. Back on the show is Mark Bradley. Mark, it's good to have you back on.
Cheers, Andy. Cheers, Andy. Good to be back on. Glad to be back in the fold and ready for another exciting Miami Dolphins season.
You know what? Like I said it before on one of the previous shows. Like if your team is going into it with a lot of expectation, like you're a Niners fan in recent years, Bills fans, Ravens fan. It's kind of the hope that kills you. The expectation is at a low, but so at a high, I should say. And you're kind of going to be disappointed unless you're a team that wins all. And there's that pain involved. There's those what ifs. But I do find in a way, even though this season we're not expected to do much, in a way, it's kind of you're not going to win it from the start. There's no pressure on you. There's no stress. There's no kind of thinking about. Because I remember 2 years ago, I was thinking about, could he win the AFC East? Could he do this? And a lot of stress involved watching games, but now it's going to be a case where any win's going to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you think after that 2023 season when, really if, injuries had gone differently and everything else like that, with how well we played, we could have been hopefully making a run into the playoffs, but obviously that wasn't to be. But we looked at that next season with kind of like, if we can stay, and it kind of fell off a cliff and it was like really, really disappointing. But this year, obviously, totally different, something totally new, a rebuild. Although I know they don't like the word rebuild, but it is a rebuild. And there's lots of unknowns, and I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. So I'm kind of excited by all these 1 year prove it players. Let's see if they can, and all that sort of stuff. So I think I'm bizarrely, even though we're expected to be rubbish, looking forward to it, which is the Dolphins way, I guess.
I share the exact sentiment. And you are sporting a Devon A-Chain jersey, but you are also sporting in the background the Fins Nation UK badge. And you have taken over my role as the host of the Fins Nation UK podcast, one that we used to do together before time commitments stopped me doing it, but you've carried on the show and started off well. And you did do some content recently at the Nottingham UK fan meetup, which happened somewhat this summer. I forget which month it was, but how was that? Was optimism high with the fans? Were there much talk about the season, or was it just a meetup? Or how was the event overall?
It was fantastic. I'm sure, obviously sort of viewers familiar with yourself and everything else like that obviously kind of know you from before when you kind of did that, and the guys that were involved, and Wayne and Martin and everybody else who runs the Fins Nations UK group, which is a fantastic group for anybody who's a Dolphins fan in the UK. Yeah, so we had our the first ever official European meetup, which was supported by the Miami Dolphins. We had a representative from the Dolphins actually there, which was amazing. And he kind of does the marketing and the content and stuff like that. So that was really cool. And yeah, the mood was good. It was a bit of a party atmosphere. Everybody was kind of I think kind of excited, and we're either all commiserating or we're sort of looking forward at as a Dolphins fan, and it was really good. Obviously, it was held in Nottingham, which was nice for me because it's not too far from me. It's literally down the road, so it was nice for me. Yeah, we did a bit of content on there, which is obviously on our page on the YouTube and everything else like that. So that's, and obviously from there with all of that sort of stuff. So it was really good to kind of do that. And obviously we had Martin and Wayne. Wayne was the International Fan of the Year last year for the Dolphins for us, and he was obviously at the draft in January and got to announce not January, February, March, whatever it was. He got to announce our 4th round pick, Trey Moore and everything else like that. So we were talking about that, and he was probably getting ribbed for that every 5 minutes. Somebody shouted out, sort of Trey Moore, and everything else like that. But it was it was a really good weekend, and I say everybody was positive, and we had a few infiltrators we had a guy from the Raiders who sadly won the beer pong tournament, which was a bit disappointing. But Raiders fans, they've got to win something every now and again, haven't they? They don't get anything from the team, do they? So so that was good. And we had a Broncos fan, which I thought was very brave, given Waddle had just been traded to them. And he actually the guy from the Dolphins actually brought him a Waddle jersey, which was quite funny, in the Dolphins colours, which was obviously really funny. So but it was a great thing. I think there's plans already for the one for next year, which I think maybe, it's a spoiler alert, I think it may be in Spain. I think maybe the next one might be. So so it was really good, and they're doing various meets during the season for different things. So it's really good. So Fins Nation UK, check them out on Facebook, and obviously we've got our podcast on YouTube, which still has all of your old ones as well, Andy. So everybody can watch those as well. So it's all good.
Make sure you do. And also shout out to Bobby Shirley. I'm thinking that is the Broncos fan in question there. We do have a second guest on. He is now going to get brought onto the show. It's Sam Moores. Sam, good to get you on.
Well, thank you for having me on, Andy. It's great to be on as always. Hello, everyone. I wasn't on too long ago. Came on for the QB ranking episode about 6 weeks ago now. And back is, it's always nice to do a yearly thing with Mark here as well. It's nice. It's I don't get to talk about football very much now. I'm just because of for work reasons. So it's nice to be back into it. It's been nice to be back doing podcasts again. And I mean, there's nothing better to talk about than the Dolphins, because I think it's going to be a strange season, but a really exciting season. And I've got lots that I'm quite excited to talk about, which is why I'm really excited for the pod today.
Just to say, Andy, we're not going to review how we did on our predictions last year, are we?
Well, you'd be wrong on that one. We're going to look back at exactly that later on in the show. That I bet you, I can guarantee you, as Joe Namath once said, that will be talked about later on. I mean, Sam came on. You came on for the quarterback ranking episode, as you always do every year. And you can check out that episode if you haven't already, and find out where Sam placed, and myself placed, Malik Willis, the new Dolphins quarterback, in the upcoming draft. And he was one of the ins in the Dolphins offseason, which includes...
Just a quick interruption on this episode. For some reason, whether it was my internet or whether it was Mark or Sam's, either way, for some reason on the recording, when I went through the ins and outs of the offseason, that got missed on the recording. So I'm going to read them out to you now on the show. So in terms of outs, the likes of James Daniels, Tyreek Hill, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Liam Eichenberg, Alec Ingold, Jason Sanders, Bradley Chubb, Tua Tagovailoa, and the likes of Keon Smith and Jordan Colbert all left, as well as Jalen Waddle via a trade, and Minkah Fitzpatrick also via trade to the New York Jets. And then re-signings, we saw 3 players at the Dolphins re-sign. This is the likes of Devon A-Chain, Jordan Brooks, and also Aaron Brewer. Also re-signed the likes of Greg Dulcich, Matthew Butler, Willie Gay, Zane Gonzalez, Riley Patterson, but also the team brought in free agency the likes of Bradley Pinion, Lonnie Johnson, Josh Uche, David Ajabo, Charlie Heck, Ben Sims, as well as Tutu Atwell, Jalen Tolbert, and quarterback Malik Willis.
So obviously kind of a bit of a revolving door in the secondary, I think, is probably going to be for the next thing. And obviously they signed Clelin Farrell this week, obviously another edge. Yeah, I think that's about various. So they had a tryout, didn't they, on Monday with about 8 new potential players and stuff like that. So I think there's going to be the bottom of the roster churn is going to be very interesting over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you think about obviously the main sort of, I think, main talking point of this offseason has been the outs. I think way more than the ins. I mean, you think about the players that have left. You know, these are mostly guys that were brought in as part of this new Dolphins kind of window we had. You know, you think about Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and then of course, to trade Jalen Waddle there for a long time. And even though there hasn't been a playoff win since 2000, there's been, certainly in my lifetime, probably yours as well, Sam, some of the best memories as a Dolphins fan have been in these seasons, which have had Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, particularly on that offense. And you think about that 2022 season, 2023 season, and yeah, it was a great time. You think about the Ravens comeback win, beating the Bills in week 3, or was it week 2, week 3, beating them for the first time in years. You had, that early start to Christmas Day when Jason Sanders kicked the winning field goal, to get them to playoffs. I mean, this is the team where Waddle, Hill, and Tua were massive parts of it. Even though I myself and a lot of people like to criticize Tua, he was part of our best moments of my whole time being a fan. So these are big guys to lose and big figures. And Sam, this has obviously been a big cut of the team, and has obviously led to a lot of dead cap as well. I mean, what's your take being on the off season, and particularly the players that we've seen leave the team who were such big parts in the last 5 years?
Honestly, I'm kind of here for it. Like, it got to the point. I think about week 2 or 3. I think obviously there was a blowout against the Colts, and then there was that game against was it Patriots, and then there's one against Bills. I think was it week 3, where we actually kind of came quite close in that Bills game. And after that, I was like, I'm fed up with this, because you Dolphins are never, like, this team is too good to be bad. It's too good to basically end up in like with a top 5 draft pick and everyone fired and everything, and it's not good enough to get over the top and compete and win divisions and stuff. And that's where the Dolphins have really been for a very, very long time. Basically, bar that 1 year with the first year of Brian Flores, is basically where the Dolphins have been for a very long time. Obviously, no division title since 2008, and that was the year that Tom Brady had a season-long injury, so that doesn't even really count. If we're being honest, like it's where the Dolphins have been for basically my entire lifetime. So why not try something new to start it? Honestly, I was bored. As much as I love watching the likes of Waddle and Tyreek and Tua, and like the team was so one-dimensional. It basically couldn't perform outside the ideal time zone of a 1 p.m. Eastern game in Miami. Outside that, or 6 p.m. UK time. Like after that, it genuinely, like, that team basically disappointed us every single time because of the way it was built. And yeah, I mean, the skill positions are massive, but it was very much skill, speed, and then you look at the rest of the league and you look at people like Josh Allen and like dominating. Like it just basically was complete different stuff. It basically was never going to work. Looking back on it, just how many guys were limited to one aspect of the game. So yeah, I mean, it's the one that makes me sad is seeing Jalen Waddle leave. Like, Tua, I think it was probably time. I was one of those that really liked Tua as a player. I was someone who really liked Drew Brees. I'm someone who really likes even Michael Penix now, for example. That's my style of quarterback. I don't really, that is a bit sad. But that second half, the first half of last year, he was genuinely abysmal. It was a real downturn in form. Like he basically looked like he'd when you've been beaten up so many times, you just sort of no fight back, and that's basically what it felt like watching two at points last year. Obviously Tyreek Hill, we don't know if he's going to come back the same guy, so I'm not too fussed about that. And again, character-wise, he's not a great person to have around the team anyway. Bradley Chubb, never really lived up to anything. That was a waste of a first round draft pick. I like Minka Fitzpatrick again. Like, I mean, I completely forgot he was even a Dolphin last season. It's not until I looked at the list I was like, oh, okay, I forgot about that trade that Chris Greer made at the start of the season last year. Waddle was the only one that I'm disappointed about. Because obviously the player in it going into his prime, really fast, finally getting a chance to be a receiver one. He's always had someone with him, whether it's Tyreek Hill or Devontae Parker, for example. But the value there is great. I think he's going to a great fit for him in Denver. It's exactly what Denver needed, someone like Jalen Waddle to complement the likes of Cortland Sutton.
You see his 100 catch in training.
It's class. Yeah, I know. It's just I think he's gonna have an absolute monster of a season. And one of my mates is a Denver fan. And it's rare you have many NFL mates, so I'm happy one of my mates gets to enjoy Jalen Waddle too. I'm okay with it. I'm okay to start fresh, to be honest with you, because I think last year was such a disaster that I honestly don't even care what happens this season. I'm just happy that 3-4 year period of, oh my god, Dolphins might do something, is finally over, and we can start and we can build something new, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Charlie Grace. I'm assuming that's another previous guest on the show, Broncos fan. Yeah. I mean, it's a big change, and this is obviously a big part of that has been one of our other ins and outs, which comes not in the form of players. It's behind the scenes. We've got a new head coach. Obviously, Mike McDaniel was fired in the off season, as well as Chris Greer was fired as well. And I thought. I was surprised. I thought he'd be there forever. I thought it'd be like a long. What's the term?
It felt like he was.
It just felt like he's never going to leave. He's always going to be there regardless. But he's gone as well. Jeff Hafley is the new head coach, a former coach at the Packers, and then also John Eric Sullivan, also from the Packers, joins as the new GM. Who I will say, so far, I've been really impressed by with how he's approached things, the way he's spoken. Obviously, we're not going to know what he's really like until these draft picks come good, and we'll know in the future, in the next 5 years, whether he was a good GM or not. But from the way he's talked and kind of what he's said in press conferences and interviews, I'm seeing nothing but good signs. And he's talked about starting from the draft. I think we'll see a lot of Dolphins draft picks in the future, a lot of years where we trade out to get draft picks, basically what the Packers did for a lot of years when he was there. I mean, Mark, first of all, for you, your take on Jeff Hafley, because he is a first-time head coach. He is someone who is new to the role, and when he was defensive coordinator last year for the Packers, great start of the year, but as soon as Parsons went down, we saw the team dip a little bit. Now, of course, being head coach is about more than just your coaching in a way. You are also about being a leader, which is why a lot of good OCs end up being bad head coaches because they're not leaders. So it is about more than just your coaching ability, and you'll have a DC there to help him. But at the same time, that could be an issue. So what's your take on the addition of Jeff Hafley in his first year in the role?
I'm excited, to be honest. I think I think Mike McDaniel was kind of it was in some ways it was nice to have Mike McDaniel for more than just his coaching, because he was a bit of a personality. It was he was a popular guy kind of so we got coverage kind of because of him and because of the way he was. But I think after 3 or 4 years, and I'm sure the Charger fans will probably find this out, it starts to grate a little bit after a while. It's nice for a couple of years, but then when the results aren't coming in, and every press conference is you're speeding up him talking because it's ums and ahs, and it's going to take forever to listen to him, and all of those sorts of things. I know that's not necessarily his fault, but it was just the whole thing of kind of what he was saying was just not there. And so Hafley coming in, I feel, has been like a breath of fresh air. His interviews, his press, the stuff that he's done with radio and different things like that. Obviously he's got a bit of head coach experience from his time at Boston College, and he did really well with them, given the type of program that they are and where they kind of was sat. So I think he did well there. I like what he says. I like the culture that he wants to bring in. Obviously, there's been lots recently that's going to come out about the Mike McDaniel's culture, with players being in, leaders being in the meetings with their phones on, and obviously we all know about the turning up late, and just the general not really, the offense not caring about the defense and stuff like that, and this whole lackadaisical sort of frat house that McDaniel was running, which you can kind of see why, because you always got that impression that he wanted to be a friend to the players. But one of the things with Hafley, and one of the things that kind of impressed me right from the start, with one of the things that he said when he was talking about the players, and this was in the OTAs, somebody asked him kind of like, what do you do? How do you deal with the players? And he was like, right. He says, well, if there's a busted player or anything else like that, I'll talk to the player and I will see why they did what they did. What made them run that play the way that they ran it? Find out their reasoning. Then I'll tell them kind of where they went wrong, and then what we need to work on to make it right. And it was just that whole thing of kind of saying the first thing he does isn't to bawl at them or to grind them out for doing the wrong thing. It was like, why did you do that? I want to understand why you did it. And it goes to show that you can have that sort of understanding in that relationship with a player, while still going into, but you did this wrong, and you need to do it better, and you need to change it, and you need to do X, Y, and Z. So, it feels like we had a little bit of a taskmaster with Brian Flores. We had too much the other way with, sort of like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. We had sort of too cold with Brian Flores, too hot with Mike McDaniel. And I'm hoping that now we've got someone who's going to sit in the middle. And like I say, with the Packers connection with Hafley and with John Eric Sullivan, they've come in and they've done what they said they were going to do. John Eric Sullivan said right at the start, Brewer, Brooks, Achan, they're the pillars of the team. We've got them all re-signed. We've got them all re-signed on really good contracts as well, not like, perhaps the overpays that we've had in the past.
Look at running backs want to get paid now as well. Like, you've got Bijan Robinson holding out, you've got Jameer Gibbs holding out. Like, Achan's going to be like a very good contract in 6 months' time.
Absolutely. And they've done that, they've got it done, and it feels like for the first time in a few years, even with the success that McDaniel did have in parts of his tenure and Greer and everything else like that, it feels like we've got a direction. It feels like we're all pulling in one direction, and the faith that they've got in Willis, whether that's going to be founded or not, we'll see, but the faith that they've got, and they've got this vision, and you just kind of feel that even with the draft, you mentioned the draft, and obviously the proof will be in the pudding with how they do, they want to build through the draft. Some of those draft picks were a little bit left field. They weren't people that people would have taken given the other players on the board and everything like that. But you just kind of they got the conviction that was the guy they wanted, so they were taking him. And whether that's right or wrong, you've got to admire that commitment to that, to not swerve and go, ooh, actually, Caleb Downs is still on the board, so should we not take that? No, we want Proctor because he's the guy that we've earmarked that's going to run the offensive line how we want to run it with Patrick Paul and everybody else. So I really like that desire and that commitment that they seem to have to their plan. So that's what makes me excited about them. And I've not heard anybody say a bad word about either of them, which is really good.
Yeah, Sam, I mean, we didn't touch on the draft. I mean, we did take in total a lot of players, but we took
13, I want to say.
Yeah, it looks about 13. But we did take Caden Proctor, 12th overall, the tackle from Alabama. In the first round, we also took Chris Johnson, cornerback from San Diego State, via the 49ers. Also took a guy in the second round, which everyone's got a lot of buzz about, linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. Took the likes of Caleb Douglas, wide receiver, tight end Will Kamsarek, wide receiver Chris Bell. Fourth round, we took Trey Moore, defensive end, which was the pick that Mark alluded to, was taken by the Dolphins International Fan of the Year. Wayne, also linebacker Pittsburgh, Cal Lewis came in. Also Seydou Traore, I think, was the other one I really liked. Obviously a Brit, London born and bred. And
NFL Academy as well. I think he's the first player to get drafted from NFL Academy, which is obviously started a couple of years, about 5-6 years ago. Getting the first player drafted from that program is huge as well.
And also, it's a rare thing where a Brit has gone through the college stage. Most of these Brits we see in the NFL, they go for the IPP, and they, get in via almost a bit like it doesn't feel quite the same when they've actually gone and done it via the college system. So he's not going to be some, I'm not going to say gimmick, but he's not going to be some guy who just got in because he's
but he went to college as well. Like after.
That's what I mean. When Mississippi had good success there, his T-slipping celebration was particularly good. So the draft pick has offered a lot of, and I think as Brits, obviously Troy is going to be someone we're really going to keep an eye on. Yeah, but I think overall, we got a tight end you mentioned earlier from Ohio State, Will Kamsarek. Sam, I mean, interesting picks, and there were some that maybe we thought we were going to go a different way. But what was your take on that? Because we got out and got, players of need. We got a player in the offensive line, got a player in the secondary in the first 2 picks. It's been times before in the Chris Greer where we took a player like Kenneth Grant, for example, last year, and really we didn't need that player in that position. We took him. So what's your take been on the draft?
It's a very Packers draft. It was my honest thing. You got basically, if you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, I can basically see the Packers doing that. It's like we're taking Will Kamsarek and taking Sadie Troy is similar to the Packers taking Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave a couple of years ago, taking 2 players in the same position. Or the Packers double up on receivers all the time as well. Shock the Dolphins picked multiple receivers as well. It's 3, I think. It's like if you need a position, you want to fill it young players and let them compete, and that's how the Packers have landed on some great players. Like players like Dontavian Wicks, for example, that you don't expect anything for coming into the league. That's exactly that's the Douglas and Chris Bell. Bell is another one that people are excited about when he comes back from his long-term injury. You got some nice profiles of players there, which is cool. I'm just in general about the process. I'm a really big fan so far. It's all about football with Hafley and Sullivan, which is different to what it was like with Marvin Daniels certainly. And I think Chris Greer had to go. We all wanted Chris Greer to go for about 3-4 years by, and I'm glad that that's over. And going back to something that you said earlier on, Mark, I think they are both saying exactly the right thing. Like as someone who works in sports team communications, like they are doing Hafley and Sullivan are doing absolutely everything right in the microphone. Like I actually believe what they say, and like I'm trusting this process. I've always been a big admirer of how the Packers value the important positions, bar receiver, which is something that I'm not always been a fan of. But the way they value the offensive line, defensive line, and then like fill the roster with young players that I think and constantly refresh the roster of young players. Like how many times do the Packers have like 10 picks in the draft? It happens all the time. I think the offseason's been very good. I've wanted a reset for at least 18 months now, I think. I just got completely fed up with the previous regime. Like this is a young, hungry team, and I think we've got the perfect coach for that scenario. Got loads of players who are determined to prove a point. I mean, you look across the roster, and you've got players who've basically been drafted high and really not performed how they've turned out to be. Players like Greg Dulcich, Tutu Atwell, like Chuck Robinson, Kenneth Grant fill into that area now. Or you got players, the receiver position. You got like 4 of them. You got Tutu Atwell, Jalen Reagor, it's a receiver full of receiver 3s, but it's good.
I think there's about 5. It must be. I think 5 or 6 of the players they brought in are all like former 2nd round or 1st round picks. So you think these players that are gonna, like you said, they're gonna have the point to prove. And I feel like Hafley feels like he's got a point to prove, and I feel like Sullivan feels like he's got a point to prove as first-time GM and first-time coach. And Hafley, especially for me, seems to be like you say, the Packers way. This sort of churn of players, but he likes hybrid players. He likes, like Kyle Lewis, who's a safety, is a linebacker. Like Trey Moore, is he an edge? Is he a linebacker? And there's quite a lot of players that he's brought in that can do multiple things, and I feel like it's going to have a positive impact in terms of not disguising your coverages and those sorts of things. And that speaks to me as an intelligent move. And he's an intelligent guy, and obviously he was a cornerbacks coach before he was anything else. And he's got that sort of thing. But the thing that you said there, Sam, let them come in and compete. Competition seems to be the buzzword for this season. We're going to get all these players in. Who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants to be the one that when it comes to December that we look at and we go, right, we're not letting you get to free agency because you've had such a good season. We're going to give you a new contract. And that's the other thing with like Brewer and Echan and Brooks, looking after our own. Greer, we know he didn't do that. He didn't want to do that. He had no interest in doing that.
That's what Green Bay do as well. They look after, they will pay the players that are the cornerstones of that team. How many times have Green Bay got rid of someone? You're like, I'm not sure about that. Or the only one that you can sort of say maybe they could do with is Devontae Adams. So like in recent memory, but a lot of the time they move on from players at the right time, which is something that the Dolphins have been very, very bad at.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned Malik Willis as well. I mean, he obviously comes in, and it's one of two things. I think there's been a lot of people who've been very excited about it. Anyone who watched him in Green Bay will know exactly, how good he could be. But he was under obviously reliable coaching, and there's no guarantee Hafley's going to be a good head coach. But you look at the team he's got around him. He has signed a 3-year, $67.5 million deal. And, he has one of the best running backs in the league by now, and Devon A-Chain, who I think will be the main kind of linchpin of this offense. But even though it is a running back, but it is a wide receiver by committee room in the Dolphins this year. Malik Washington, Jaden Tolbert, Tuta Atwell. There's no star, but I think that's how they liked it in Green Bay. And like you said, Sam, they'll be hungry to go out and and prove people wrong. But I'm looking here at the defense. I'm looking at the secondary in particular. Dante Trader, Chris Johnson, Storm Duck, Zane. This is a pretty average secondary, or at least untested secondary. And I just think about that, the lack of maybe a star receiver. Offensive line, I think, has promise, but it has its faults as well. Do you think he is being dealt almost like he was in Tennessee, a bit of a bad hand? Or are you guys confident? I'll go to you first, Mark. Are you guys confident that this is going to be a good time for Malik? Or are you worried, a bit like me, about maybe the supporting cast and the overall team he's got around him in terms of him fulfilling his true potential?
Yeah, I think it has to be a concern, and obviously, the first couple of days of training camp have probably kind of highlighted that he hasn't really got a star to kind of sort of help him out a little bit. But obviously, Achan's not been practicing, so maybe that'll help. But yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, if he doesn't do well, he's kind of got that to rely back on, of kind of saying, well, I haven't got like a fantastic receiving core. Chris Bell probably is the best and most talented of the receivers that we've got, but he's going to be injured for probably a couple of months. So is Caleb Douglas going to ball out? Tutu Atwell, I've always been a fan of him in LA, but he's not an every down sort of player. And Jalen Tolbert, again, not an every down sort of player. Malik Washington, we know, isn't an every down sort of player. So you kind of look at that and you think, is he going to struggle? And he may well struggle with that. But on the flip side of that, if he can produce 6-7 wins out of the season, you're going to have to look at that and say he's done really well. He's done really well with the limited things. So let's get him some more wide receivers when we've got a bit more cap space next year, because obviously we've got the worst in the league. Let's get another couple of players drafted, or we can trade, or whatever we're going to do. We can get him that, because you can give him a year and see. I think you're going to know. I think after the season, he's going to play he's Hafley's guy. He sees him every week in training when he was at Green Bay. He's Hafley's guy. After this season, I think you're going to know whether we've made the right investment or not, even with or without the supporting cast being great. So I think then they can decide what they're going to do. But I'm quite confident. I've liked what I've seen of him. I know it's a small sample size, but I've liked what I've seen of him. Totally different quarterback to Tua. We're all been used to these, sort of pinpoint throws, really quick out. He's not going to do that. He's not a pocket passer. He's going to do that. He's going to break out the pocket. He's going to run. He's going to scramble. He's going to be all exciting and everything else like that. Great. I'm all up for something a bit different. So I'm excited. A little bit like you. I'm a little bit apprehensive. I don't quite know how it's going to go, but I think I don't think he's really got anything to lose. And I think I think he'll get a bit of a pass even if he's not great, because people will say. I think Omar Kelly the last couple of days has been calling him Chad Henne, which is a little bit harsh, but I think I think we'll kind of see how that goes. But I think I'm looking forward to it. Again. Yeah, the cast isn't great, we know that, but there's your opportunity. Jalen Tolbert, you've thought you're a wide receiver one for years. You've said that in the press. Tutu Atwell, you've not had the chances you probably wanted. Anybody coming to the Dolphins, here's your opportunity to be a starter, to be a star. Juju Brents, stay fit. You could be one of the best cornerbacks that we've got. He's got the talent. Can he stay fit? Can he play every week? That for me is the thing with the supporting cast, is how and if they ball out and Willis plays well and everything else like that, then great, we're going to be the beneficiaries. And I think that's what makes the whole thing exciting, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, with Willis, if we get what we saw in Green Bay last year for the whole year, we're in for an exciting year, because the way he's able to extend plays with his legs, kind of come in for the injured Jordan Levitt and make some good plays and play some great performances. I mean, if we get that for a whole year, it's going to be exciting for Dolphins fans. And the one thing we can guarantee, unlike Tua, we know he can play in the cold. so
yeah,
that's how he breaks out the pocket.
There'll be zero concerns about the weather with Malik Willis. And yeah, I mean, I think you look at his size as well. I mean, he's certainly, because I always think that quarterback is one position where I don't think it matters about being chiseled. If you think about Tom Brady, Mahomes, dad bods, they seem to be absolutely fine with that. So I think the size
it's a bit harsh on Mahomes, that. But even Tom Brady, the athleticism is completely different.
But I know that. But he, as quarterbacks, there, I think the size Malik Willis is, he's big, he's stocky. I think that he is, going to be able to withstand tackles better than Tua as well. So I think overall, we'll be in for an exciting year if he can play somewhat, at least the level we played last year. I think we're in for a good year. Quick touch from you, Sam, before we go on to our win-loss tie segment. You did mention Willis a lot in the quarterback ranking episode, but your quick take on Malik Willis and about his supporting cast and the defense.
Honestly, like I don't care like how it goes. Like honestly, whatever happens this year, I honestly am not fussed. Like it's one of those where I just want to see who can play on this team in 3 years' time when we're contending again. That's all this is about. And if Willis does play well, then yeah, nice. But as for who we have a receiver, whether I'm worried about if it's not enough, this is a reset. Of course, positions are going to be light. You can't have every position in your roster filled. That's not where we are. We've got a ton of dead cap. And you can't fix everything in one offseason. I'm not really fussed about who plays at receiver or anything. But I mean, I said it in our quarterback ranking episode last month. I liked him come out of Liberty, but I wasn't really impressed with what I saw in Tennessee. It was bad. But he was really, really, really good when he had to fill last year in Green Bay. And he's earned this job. He's earned it. And he's cheap as well. Honestly, if this pans out, he is cheap. It feels weird saying the sort of contract that averages out $34 million a season, although most of it's actually, almost this season, that you can actually get out of it pretty easily next season. 16 quarterbacks are more than him. And numerically, he was an elite quarterback in the couple of games he played for Green Bay last year. He had an incredibly high EPA per play, incredibly high success rate. It was actually number one of all quarterbacks who played more than 50 snaps last year. He was that good, and really high average depth of target at the time as well. and he's in the perfect scheme. We said it earlier on. He's in the perfect scheme. He's got one of the best running backs in the league. He's got a great run blocking offensive line as well. Obviously, he's got Aaron Brewer in there, who is one of the best run blocking offensive linemen in the entire league. He's never going to be asked to throw 40 times a game. It's going to be all about the run game this year. And I think I listened to a podcast the other day, and there's a stat that he's basically never thrown over 25 passes in a game, which is crazy. But he's not had to, because in Green Bay the offense was exactly what he needed. They had the multiple running backs. They had they had the quick running backs. They had the built running backs. They had a bit of everything now, and you've got that in Achane, Gordon, and Jalen Wright as well. Like, it's all about the run game. I don't care what happens at receiver, and I think Malik Willis. I think he'll have a decent year. To be honest with you, I think he will. If he doesn't, we're going to pick high and get a rookie quarterback next year, and he might be a good person to have in the building for the rookie quarterback. He's on not that great of a contract next year. That's just the way I see it. To be honest with you, I'm not really fast. I hope he does well. I really like the guy as a player. Sorry, I rambled on a little bit there, but honestly, that's sort of how I feel this year. I'm just like, I just want to see who's on this team in 3 years' time. It's like auditions for the AFC challenging Dolphins in 2028, 2029. That's the way I see this season.
Fair enough. Well, let's head to our final segment, which is win, lose, or tie. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the process on this part of the show, each fan that comes on will predict their team's overall record by going through each game and answering with a win, loss, or tie answer. Now, not only are we doing more than one guest, for the first time, I'm also getting involved in the predictions. For the only time we'll see in all 32, I'll be getting involved as well and predicting each win, loss, or tie. Now, I've gone for Mark, then Sam, then me, and we'll go in that order all the way from 1 all the way to week 18. And of course, we were all part of this show last year. I know what we did last year, and the Dolphins did finish 7-10 in 2025. Do you boys remember by chance what the prediction was a year ago for the Dolphins?
Probably like 10-6.
Yeah, I feel like it was like 11-5, 10-6, something like that.
It was 9-8, so we weren't too optimistic between that. I seen some of it myself. I seem to be drawing a lot of the tough teams. I think my first 3 or 4 predictions were all losses for the Dolphins, because we had some tough games in that point. But no, we will start.
You were right. You were right though, because I think we disagreed, especially with the Indianapolis game. I think we got that as wins and stuff like that, and you got no loss. So we were like, no, we're not going to lose to the Colts. Okay.
Well, I will say, I've just remembered now. I've not listened back to last year. I've got a feeling I picked us to beat the Bills. I'll have to look back, and I'll just quickly now add in this episode now my reaction to if we actually did predict. I'll get the VAR on this to see whether I actually did predict. But I'm pretty sure I predicted the Bills win. Okay, well, back with me for week 10. We've got a home game against the Buffalo Bills. I think we could win this. I think we could have Josh Allen on an off day. I'm going for a shock win against Buffalo Bills. That could be one of the shocks of the season. Hopefully this year we'll have similar results, but hopefully more wins than 7. Week 1 is starting off with Mark, and week 1 we are on the road to the Las Vegas Raiders. Mark, for you, win, lose, or tie?
Win.
Okay.
Win.
I actually think that could be right.
It's one of the most winnable games on the schedule. It's a very hard schedule.
It's the only one in the calendar, aside from the Jets, obviously, because the Jets suck. Is the game where I've kind of gone, we've got to win that. Don't get me wrong, they've made some good free agency signings. They're a lot better than I think they have been for a couple of years, but I don't think that's going to gel enough in that first game. Obviously, we've got loads of players that have got to gel. It'll either be a really, really high-scoring, 1 touchdown difference victory, or it'll be like 7-3.
It all depends on the pass rush as well. Like if we can get to Kirk Cousins, we win that game. If we can't get to Kirk Cousins, we won't win that game. It's basically the way I feel about that game.
So it's all on chopped shoulders. All on chopped shoulders.
Well, apparently it looked like Micah Parsons in practice the other day. So
I did hear that. That was Omar Kelly said that he looked like Micah Parsons. I mean, Omar is never happy, never says things like that. So, but I didn't realize. So just going off on a tangent, I didn't realize Chop Robinson's relative athletic score when he was drafted was pretty much exactly the same as Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
So if you can get it up there, you've got it.
Then, Sam, over to you for week 2. We are travelling once again, but this time, staying in the West Coast, though, we are playing the 49ers. Sam, win, lose, or tie?
Please. Simple as. It's it's against the Niners in Santa Clara. I think they're going to be decent as always. Well-drilled team. They always have the ability to drop games. But I just think it's no match really, for being honest.
Fair. Doesn't get any easier in week 3 though. We are hosting the Chiefs, and this is where my first win and lose and tie comes in. I've been torn all day in this one because on the one hand, I think the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Mahomes is back. We're obviously in transition. I've got a feeling the Chiefs early on in the season, I've got this feeling. If this was week 16, I'd be putting as a lock to lose. But we could win this game. Home open as well. Fans might be up for it. And Mahomes back from injury. Is he going to be, at this point, his full self? Kelsey not getting any younger. The receiving room isn't great. Obviously, a lot of off-the-field drama with that. I'm going to go for a win. You know what?
Wow.
Screw it. I'm going to go for the win, and we're going to start the season 2-1.
I'm going to back you with that, Andy. I would agree.
So I can see that game, us being 0-2, we've conceded loads of points to the Niners, and it's like a sea of red. It's like Arrowhead South. And basically, I can see tickets being sold for really cheap at that point.
Well, hopefully that's not the case. But in week 4, Mark, we are travelling once again, our third road game in the first 4 games. We are taking on at US Bank Stadium the Vikings.
I hate games like the Vikings, predicting games like the Vikings. Because historically, they're the sort of team that we just don't beat. They're the sort of team that would come in, smack the rubbish out of a Mike McDaniel team, and just wouldn't really go anywhere. They've got Kyler Murray. We're rubbish against running quarterbacks, or we have been rubbish. Sorry, Jeff. We have been really poor against running quarterbacks. Hopefully we won't be, given that we're used to now training with a running quarterback. But loss, I'm afraid. I think I can't say. I think a bit too much, like I say, with that. I think they're just no.
Well, week 5, we are back at home, but this time we are taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, Sam.
I think we lose this one as well, if we're being honest. The Bengals are obviously they've made that big trade getting in Dexter Lawrence. I'm fascinated to see what happens this year with that team. I feel like, basically they've got a high-powered offense to extremes that I don't think anyone can compete with, and there's no way this offense is outscoring them, whatever happens. It's a loss. Unfortunately, going into a bye with a loss. But honestly, that's an incredibly tough opening 5 games. Obviously, 3 away trips and Chiefs and the Bengals at home. I don't think we will be 2-3 going in that, but obviously we've got us at 2-3. If you're 2-3 heading into that, you absolutely take it. I don't think that's what will actually happen, but no, it's nice to see that as a sort of possibility.
Yeah, I'm just picturing now Jamar Chase up against Storm Duck, and it's not a good look.
He'll not be playing. He'll not be fitting. He'll not be fitting up by then. It'll be Storm Duck up against Marco Wilson or some other random. It's going to be Jamar Chase up against Major Burns. That's who it's going to be up against.
We got a bye week in week 6, so week 7 we are taking on the road the New York Jets, and it's down to me once again. And I'm going to go for a win again. I think the Jets, on paper, they might be worse than us. So I think we're going to start the season 3-3. This is incredible. But no, week 8, we are back at home, and this time taking on the New England Patriots. Mark, over to you.
This is really hard because I never want to say we're going to lose to the Patriots. Like, I never want to say we're going to lose to the Bills, and I especially will never say we'll lose to the Jets, just full stop. But yeah, I think it will be a loss. I really hope we're perhaps in a bit of a stride. Maybe the bye week will have given us a bit of a break and things like that. But yeah, I can only see the Patriots getting strong. I know they've had a lot of off the field issues and everything else like that. I can only see them getting stronger next year. You know, they've got obviously improvements to their wide receiver room with Antonio Brown and various other bits and bobs. Josh Allen, obviously, you know, if I would caveat that with, if by some miracle Josh Allen is injured, which very rarely happens, if he's injured, I think we'd beat them, because I think so much of the Bills is Allen's aura and to do with Josh Allen. But yeah, Josh Allen, what am I on about? Drake May. Sorry. It's late. What am I on about? Drake May. And that's because I'm looking at the wrong page of my notes. That's why that is. That's because I've looked at the wrong page, because we've got the Bills next. So I've gone too far. I've gone too far into the future. That's what I've done. So please ignore everything I've just said, except for the fact that I think we're going to lose.
Well, it's not the Bills next. It's the Lions next. Over to you, Sam.
Bills for me. Bills for me.
Oh,
yeah,
I
Bills,
see.
Yeah. Lose. I'd tell you what, by the way, four game stretches. First 4 home games: Chiefs, Bengals, Patriots, Lions. Like, that is, you know, all four of those teams could be in the. Yeah, obviously it's impossible for the 4 of them to be in the AFC Championship game, or say the Championship weekend, because 3 of them in the AFC. But like, those are the teams you can see in the the Championship weekend, and those are your 4 first home games. Yeah, I mean, I think the Lions will probably be back a little bit this year. Obviously they've made an emphasis on improving in both trenches, which was their weakness last year. They're just a better team in multiple areas. Yeah, it's hard to pick a team that's over under as 4.5 wins to win against the Detroit Lions. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about those 4 home games you mentioned, when you've got 3-time Super Bowl champions, 2 years ago the number 1 seed in the NFC, AFC champions this decade in the Bengals, and I forget the 4th team now we just mentioned, but who's the 4th team you mentioned that we've
Patriots,
got?
who literally just been in the Super Bowl.
Last season's AFC champions. That is an incredibly tough ask.
With that fantastic quarterback, Josh Allen.
Yeah. Well, week 10 is on the road, and it is against the Colts. Yeah, I think we lose this. I think it depends on Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones is the quarterback we saw in those first 8 weeks, then absolutely. But I think if Daniel Jones doesn't come back to his old self, then that could be a gap to win. But I'm backing the Colts to be somewhat good again. So yeah, I'm going to go for a loss here. And that means we then go into week 11 playing in the new Highmark Stadium, Mark.
Yeah. Basically everything I just said about the Patriots, just bring that into the but except for the, I mean, obviously that's not strictly true, but obviously with what I said about Allen, I think the aura of Allen obviously kind of has a huge impact on the Bills, but they've got a few more weapons this year. Obviously, DJ Moore's gone there. He's a good pickup at wide receiver. That's something they've always, I think, struggled with. So I think that's going to be a key thing for them. The one other thing, but obviously, the one thing that is with the Bills that I do, my slight question mark is obviously, Sean McDermott was there for so many years, and obviously mostly had our number. He's not there, and I know Joe Brady's obviously been part of that whole team, but again, what are they going to look like this year? They're going from a sort of defense to an offense, where we're going from an offense to a defensive minded head coach. So I don't know. I don't know.
At the end of the day, it's be playing Josh Allen.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like I say, my aura comment stands about Josh Allen, but I don't know. Maybe a chink. Maybe when we've got them back in Florida, but in Buffalo, no chance.
And also their brand new stadium is going to be a lot of high spirit there, high energy. Yeah, I don't see us winning at all in that game. Sam, over to you for week 12. We are hosting the New York Jets.
As much as I'd love for us to sweep the Jets, because it feels like we sweep the Jets all the time, which is nice.
Don't do it, Sam.
I just can't.
Don't do it, Sam.
I just honestly, I just can't
Sam.
see this Dolphins team winning any more than like 5 games. Like it's so there's going to be some losses to come here somewhere. Yeah, we will lose games. And as much as I'd hate to lose to the Jets, like this will probably be maybe one of them. I think it'll be a horrible game. Just looking at like the ESPN schedule, this is the cheapest ticket of the season so far. You can buy a ticket to this game right now for $42. It wouldn't surprise me if it'll be about $8 by the time we get to week 12, because I think I can imagine both teams not really playing for anything at that point. And that, yeah, what we split the series, I think that's probably fair.
Tell you what, a nice little trip, end of November to Miami, $8 ticket. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
So you're definitely doing that.
You would think so, but I don't think I could quite afford the flight to add on. If it was, if someone could pay the flight for me and I pay for the ticket, and I'm absolutely there. But I'm not sure I could quite afford to spend that much on a ticket. But you never know. I'll see how I feel, because my girlfriend's eager to go back to Miami. So yeah, you never know. This could be a late decision.
Presumably for Miami, though, not for the Dolphins.
Yeah. No, she's very much Chargers. So yeah, she'd love to go, to be fair, back to Miami's, but no, I maybe in a few years. But no, week 13, we are back on the road, and this is where we face the Denver Broncos and are reunited with that gentleman there, Jalen Waddle. Yeah, I think we lose. Of all the games I've chosen for me to pick and predict, this is the one I'm least confident about. Going up the altitude against that defense, if Bo Nix is back to his self from last year before the injury, and you got Courtland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, I don't see a way we stop this team at all. At home, you never know. At home week, but I think on the road in Mile High, I don't see a way. I think we lose that. Week 14 is back with you, Mark, and we are facing the Chicago Bears at home.
Yeah, a difficult one. Like you were saying earlier, guys, about the Lions and kind of that division. Lions, Bears, Packers, and Vikings. That's got to be one of the tightest divisions in all of football. Those teams. You could pick any one of them to win that division. I think. And we've said we're going to lose to the Vikings. We said we're going to lose to the Lions. I think, unfortunately, the chances are we're going to lose to the Bears as well, because I think all of those teams are probably could easily be 11, 12 win teams, maybe 9, 10 win teams, but they all could be, sort of right up there that division at the end. So I can't really see us doing a great deal against the Bears, unfortunately. And they've also got my favorite player from the draft that I wanted us to sign, which was Dylan Tyneman at safety. I was really hoping we would sign him, but we didn't. So you can guarantee, because I liked him, he will get a fantastic interception, probably for a pick six, something like that, just to really wind me up. So yeah, so no, I'm afraid a loss there.
Fair. I mean, one of my favorite players going into last year's draft was Luther Burden, and obviously he was taken by the Bears. Maybe we'll have a double blow and both have players that we like in different drafts.
Although the Bears have got the Madden curse this year, because Caleb Williams was on the cover of Madden. So,
true. I don't believe those wins they had in 25 are sustainable. The amount of comeback wins they had, they're going to have to try and take more leads in games if they're going to want to repeat what they did. But either way, it's going to be tough. I'm just glad that's not in Soldier Field. But this next one's interesting, Sam. Of course, we're taking half the Packers staff back to Green Bay as we take on the Packers at Lambeau Field.
Dolphins in Green Bay in December, probably in the snow. It's going to be a loss.
Well, I will say, Willie Willis knows how to play in Green Bay.
I know, but a lot of the players don't. A lot of the other players don't. He's not just a one-man team.
We're going to win that game. We're going to win that game. Write it down. Little star. Write it down.
That would be a statement.
We're going to go back, and Jeff and John are going to be like,
one of these last 5 games, I can see us winning. Just finishing off, that Brian Flores season where he just won. I think it was I just see us winning one of these last 5 games. And we got 3-4 wins. Just having some sort of when you're playing for nothing but playing nothing but their futures, when they're trying to get a contract. I can see, and then a lot of for example, some of these teams might have a playoff berth secured or something like that. It's. This isn't the game, basically. This isn't the one. The other ones, especially 2 of the home ones and the final game, I think the other 3 are more likely than this one. But the only way I can see us losing this game is if Jordan Love's not playing.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned there, of course, we all remember the Mike Gesicki touchdown late in Foxborough to spoil their party and move them from an automatic seed to a wild card round team. And of course, next game they lose, Tom Brady leaves, end the dynasty. So I always like to reminisce about that game. I won't want to though about our Week 16 game against the Chargers. In my final win, loss or tie prediction, playing the Chargers at home. No.
I want to win this game so badly because of who's calling their offense. I want to win this game.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, I want to win this game so badly.
Well. It's in Miami. That'll be interesting. We're going from Green Bay one week where we're traveling to their place. Our head coach was their former coordinator. And the following week, we're hosting a team who are bringing over one of our old head coaches. So,
interestingly enough, this is also the second cheapest home ticket of the season. You can get a ticket for this for $53 right now. So if anyone fancies going to the game, good time maybe to buy a ticket. Or when we are again 3-12 and the tickets are $8, again another time to snap up a ticket. Maybe book a flight now and see what happens.
Absolutely.
I wonder what odds you could get on for that game if he's even remotely near fitness of the Chargers taking Hill on a contract just to play the game.
Oh my god, can you imagine? I don't know how I'd react to that if I'm honest. But Week 17, Mark, is your final one to predict. We are hosting the Buffalo Bills in our final home game of the season. For the final time this episode, Mark, win, lose or tie?
I'm going to be very glass half full and I'm going to go for a win. Just because I've had to already say we're going to lose to the Bills and the Patriots once. I'm not going to do it twice. So let's go for a win. You would imagine they're probably going to have their playoff berth secured. They might be a little bit, rest. They could be resting players. I mean, there's not the last game, maybe not, but they might, and we might somehow scrape a win over the Bills, which would be nice. But this is the only opportunity I'm going to get to say this. However, if anybody has seen Jeff Dunham's the ventriloquist comedian special, he has a fantastic joke in there where he asks one of the, I think it's Bubba Ray, about history, and he says, "What was Buffalo Bill famous for?" And he said, "Losing the Super Bowl every year." What was Buffalo Bill famous for? Never winning a Super Bowl. That's what it was. Which I thought was brilliant. So that was great. I kind of ruined the delivery there, but let's go.
I was not expecting Jeff Dunham to be mentioned on this show. I did not think that whatsoever, but here we are. Jeff Dunham is mentioned.
I cheered at that joke, and my kids were like, "Why is that really funny?" And I was like, because it is really funny.
Well, if I'm getting it right, you could argue that you can get, him to say the defense will kill you. If that is that, was that him? Was it Ahmed?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, and of course Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb will be coming back.
Of course. Interesting.
He'll do nothing, but
I will say
he would have torn his ACL by that point. One of the two.
I mean, that is more likely. But I will say his stats weren't bad when he's on the field. The amount of sacks he got for the games he played weren't too bad.
His first year wasn't great, but that second season it was. He saw when he found it took a bit of time. Then it was 2023 when they were all healthy until right at the end. That end of it. Found out that defense was really good, and he was a big part of that. But no, I mean, who knows?
I mean, and then McDaniel decided to keep players on the field when we were losing by 30. And then Bradley Chubb went down injured, and then it all fell apart.
Probably won't play in that blizzard in Kansas City, and
it's
just like
it does make you wonder. Sam, for you, the final time for you, your game is a road game against the Patriots. Sam, for the final time in this episode for you, win, lose or tie?
I was going to go for a win, but I don't see us winning back-to-back games to finish the season. So, do you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go for a tie. Screw it. It's like I don't want us to lose the Patriots, but I was going to pick us to win this game, but before we could Mark picked us to beat the Bills. So let's go for a tie. I've never seen the Dolphins end this game in a tie before since I've been a fan. I fancy it. Why not? Yeah.
You know what? That is the first one of the series, the first tie. We always get a couple each year in our season previews. And it's our first one this year is home of the Dolphins. And it means we are predicting between us a 4-12-1 record.
Sounds about right. Which
is, so far in our 15th team, we are down as the least optimistic fans of all the teams. We have edged out the Browns and Cardinals, who had 6 wins respectively from their fans.
6 wins? Whoa.
Yeah. So, we stand as the least optimistic fans. And right now, we are predicting that we're going to have the number 1 pick in the draft next year. So, interesting times. Interesting. But, that is the end of the show. So, first of all, Mark and Sam. Mark, first of all, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Absolutely welcome. It's always a pleasure, and it's always enjoyable and everything like this. It's been really good. Thank you.
And Sam, for you as well. Thank you for coming on as well.
It's all right, mate. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. As you can tell, I'm sort of just not really fussed what the Dolphins do this season, which is nice, to be honest with you, because I don't really have to. It doesn't affect your mood very much. Like it's like I don't have to worry. I'm not going to be pacing around on my living room on a Sunday, going like, on every time the Dolphins are on offense, I'm not going to be pacing around worried about what's going to happen. I can just sit down and enjoy the football because I know we're not going to be there at the end of the season. So it's just about finding future Dolphins, I think. But honestly, it was really, really enjoyed it. Being on again, Andy. Thank you very much, and good luck for the rest of the season with the pod.
Yeah, same as me, Mark. Good luck on the Fins Nation UK podcast. I will put a link in the description to the podcast to do. Check it out if you are a Dolphins fan listening and you want a UK Dolphins podcast, and also if you want to listen to my old episodes where I did interview back in the day OJ McDuffie and Richmond Webb. So do check it out if you haven't already. Check out Mark's work on the Fins Nation UK podcast and also the YouTube channel. In the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast, our Miami Dolphins season preview, team of 15 out of 32. I have been, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, with our Dolphins fan in myself, but also Mark Bradley and Sam Moores. And we'll see you guys for our next team season preview. See you then. Take care.